Anyway, for those who are zooming, welcome, and for those of you who are here at Temple, welcome as well, of course, shalom. And we have a very special program that is two parts today and next week, same time, same station, same place. And it is my great honor to introduce a colleague, or a colleague and a friend, Rabbi Bloch. For those of you who actually attend services, which most of you do here, Rabbi Bloch shared conducted services a couple of months ago, a couple weeks ago, yeah. So you got to meet her then as well, so she's definitely not a stranger aside from the fact that she is and her family are members of our synagogue, as well as Rabbi Joyce Siegel there, the director of Jewish Family Experience, which is our version of a religious school, or we don't call it a religious school, we call it experiential school. No, experiential. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We are here today for a program on ethical wills. And Rabbi Marcy will introduce herself and tell you about what she's doing now in her life and a little bit about where she's come from. But only to say is that she has been in many congregations in our area here. More than on me, which is basically one before this one, that's it. So yeah, I had just one to my name aside from Temple Sinai. So that's how unexciting my life was been, I guess you could say. However, is that more than that, I said she is involved with a very important program in our area, which is called come on in, hi Barbara, called Empath Trust Bridge. And it's very, very important work with hospitals. So, Rabbi Marcy, this is yours. Okay. And well, let's give it up for Rabbi. They're giving a time for our program.
Thanks for Rabbi Moss, Rabbi Steve. It's really nice to be here with all of you today. As Rabbi Steve has shared, Joyce Siegel, who is here in a certain capacity, I have the blessing, the great deep blessing of working with her. Also, she works with us at hospice. And so I'm grateful that she works with me in the department that we have, which is called TICFA, Jewish Care and Support Program, which is kind of a branch of, is that too loud or is that good?
No, that's good, that's good.
Is a branch of Trust Bridge. So we have Trust Bridge or Empath Trust Bridge, what we are now called, and then we have a Jewish program within Empath Trust Bridge that we provide. We make sure that our Jewish patients' needs are met. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But as Rabbi Steve was saying, so I was a congregational rabbi. I met quite a few of you, which is really nice. And I do come here sometimes for Shabbat and a member here as well. But I also wanted to share that yes, I was a congregational rabbi for over 20 years in this area, mostly in Boca Raton. I was also living proud. And had the blessing of getting to know the community and be part of the community, and so it's really what's looking here with you today. So today we're going to talk about ethical wills. Has anyone ever heard of ethical wills before? Yes. What's your name? Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Okay, good. So we're going to just dive right in. Eric, I asked you, how did we get this to work? What happened?
Your computer went into standby or sleep.
Okay, so
Wake up your computer. Yes, it should come back.
So glad that Eric is here. Holy, I knew Eric in my life all the time with computer stuff. Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna begin. We're waiting with all that stuff down. Yeah, we can move this over. Yeah, we don't need. It's offered on the TV too, but this is the best station to be on today. Okay, the power. Not legible. What is this one? Okay, you're perfect. Oh, Stanley, leave it on that. Right? So I just want to just welcome those on Zoom. I'm sorry that I can't see your faces. I see everything next to the mark. Okay, so we're gonna begin with just a little bit of what was it that brought you here today? Why are you here? I heard this is a good turnout at this time of day.
I wanted to know what.
Tell me your name.
My name is Nusha.
Nusha, like today.
And I was prosecuted.
So Nusha wanted to know what this is. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so Nusha, who else, like, why you're here? Someone tell me why you're here. Anybody else? Why you came? Yeah, tell me your name.
My name is Cindy.
Okay, Cindy, why you came?
I'm a social worker. I sometimes work with seniors, but also I lost my children, and when I passed, I went on leave behind for my nieces and nephews. Something of true value other than belonging.
Perfect, we're gonna talk about that, good. Anybody else? Why you came today? Yeah,
Well, I had gone to what it was once before, I didn't quite get exactly what I wanted to from it, and I'm curious to see if I get more.
what's your name?
Marcia Weber.
Marcia, whew, high expectations already, we're gonna do our best.
It's okay.
Okay, so Marcia's been to a course once before, but she's looking to add to what she's learned. Okay, anybody else, why you're here? Margaret, did you have something you want to share?
Because you're here.
Awesome. I am Rabbi and Stanley from from my congregation in Coral Springs, so it's always nice to be with them. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive right in. And what I like to do when I teach this is I like to begin the blessing for the study of Torah. Now you might think, oh boy, we're here for a study. Nope, you're not for a study, but I think of it as when we are doing an ethical will, we're actually beginning not only, we are going to study some Torah, but we're actually going to be really talking about the Torah of our souls, which a lot is, which an ethical will is about, which we're going to talk about that in a moment. But we're really going to be talking about what's here, what's in our heart, and I entitled this "Words of Our Hearts" because it really is about the words of our hearts. Okay, so, oh, you're gonna that for me on thanks. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so we're gonna begin. We see our level. Okay, we must say it. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher ja'ala tzedakah v'chesed. So
Delray Torah.
blessed are you, eternal our God, who commands us to immerse ourselves in the words of Torah, and we say, Amen. Okay, so where do we begin? We begin in the Torah, where we actually learn the basis of an ethical will. Now, remember, I haven't really told you what an ethical will is yet, but you're gonna tell me from these texts that we're looking at. It starts in the book of Genesis, and actually in the Parsha, in the Torah portion that we read just a few weeks ago in Parsha Vayechi. Does anyone know what happens in Parsha Vayechi? Anybody Torah study people, friends? Yes?
I think that's when Jacob died.
Yes, very good. It's when Jacob dies. And so we're gonna read a little bit about what happens in this parsha, and you're going to begin to tell me what an ethical will is. We're gonna figure it out together. Okay? Would someone like to, oh, I guess I have to read right here, because they'll be on the microphone.
Yes.
Okay, that's not my style, but we'll do it. Okay, so Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt. So the span of Jacob's life came to 147 years. When the time approached for Israel to die, he summoned his son Joseph and said to him, "Do this favor, place your hand under my thigh as a pledge of your steadfast loyalty. Please do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my ancestors, take me up from Egypt and bury me in their burial place." He replied, "I will do as you've spoken." And he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. Then Israel bowed at the head of the bed. Okay? So this is a little bit about Jacob, and what do we learn from this text? Tell me your name again. Barbara, okay, what do we learn?
That Joseph is dying and he wants to be buried not in Egypt. And
Yes.
Joseph has sworn to him that
he will follow his wishes.
Well, it's Jacob and he's summoning his son, right?
Yeah,
So Jacob's dying, right?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and Joseph has promised that he will follow Jacob's wishes.
Right, okay, and what are his wishes in here?
Be here with his ancestors.
To be buried with his ancestors, is there anything else that we've learned that are his wishes? From looking at this, right? So we learned one thing, right? Son to son, place your hand under my thigh as I pledge of your steadfast loyalty. Please do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my ancestors, take me up from Egypt and bury me in their burial place. Anything else? How many are you again?
Possibly, this may be far-fetched, that he trusts Joseph of all his sons to follow his wishes.
Oh, so you're giving me the Rashi on this. Yeah, no, we're not ready for that. That's good. I like it. She's kind of already going somewhere else with it. But I think there is a sense of trust, right? We get that. Do me this favor, place your hand under my thigh as a pledge to. So we're making a vow of some sort, right? And we're telling our wishes of what we want when we die. Physically. Anything else that you see here? What's your name? Noah.
To not be buried in Egypt.
To not be buried in Egypt. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of things that we're being that we want physically for our friend. Okay? Hold that thought. All right, we're gonna go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. So this comes just a little bit later in Genesis, and Jacob gathers his sons. Okay? I did not put the whole thing in here, it looks really long, but I encourage you to read this section in the Torah, the Chumash. It says, and Jacob called his sons, come together that I may tell you what is to befall you in the days to come. Assemble and hearken, O sons of Jacob, hearken to Israel, your father. Okay? So what is it that we're being told that Jacob does now?
It's prophesizing.
Okay, good. What else?
Calling his sons together so that he can tell them what that and
Yeah.
then.
So this is like, right, I mean, we see this, I see this in hospice all the time. People have their families around, they're talking about their wishes, what they want, how much they love each other, they're sharing, right? Lots of different things happening in the room when I'm with families, right? But there's something really powerful about what happens here, which I did not put on here. Which as I said, you should read it, it's a couple pages in Torah. But what happens is Jacob does some really nice things where he blesses some of his children, and then he does some other things that are not so nice. What does he do?
He doesn't bless some.
He doesn't bless some of his children. Some might even call he rebukes them, right? So some he gives them some really nice wishes, and some not so good, right? So we learn that from these two texts, that there are a couple things that would go in an ethical will. What would those things be? If I two texts, what are the things that would go into an ethical will? Stanley?
How much of the things do you see about your offspring?
Yes.
And then also the weaknesses or negative things.
Okay.
Or things that be improved in those.
The family is just taking this text. I said we learned two things, and I meant the text before, but he said that, okay, we want to say the really beautiful things and maybe not the beautiful things. So I'm gonna say, and I'm not like, a guru when it comes to ethical wills, but I will say this. This is something you're gonna leave either your children, your loved ones, family members, or friends. Do you want to leave something that's negative to them? Put yourself on the other side. You're gonna be the reader of that ethical will. Do you want to have something that doesn't feel so good? Would you read it again? Hold that thought, okay? Tell me your name again.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
What's your name again?
Marsha.
Marsh.
It's a possibility that, the negative thing will help the person receiving it where that they can go on with their life in a more positive way by understanding the negativity of what I would be saying to them.
So Marcia is saying something really powerful, maybe the negative thing, and I will call it an area of improvement rather than a negative thing. Jacob was incredibly negative, and I would probably say that his children probably needed some therapy from that experience, right? Not a bad thing, therapy's a good thing, but you know that we have to really think about this is something we're gonna leave as part of our legacy of what our hopes, dreams, values, and beliefs are. Now, there's two things I showed you. The first text was all about physically what Jacob wanted, where he wanted to be buried. You know, who next to who, right? So in an ethical will, you can say your desires for when you pass away physically, you want to be buried here, you want to be sent there, you want to have special Jewish burial rituals. There are many Jewish rituals, such as what we call Tahara, which is a spiritual cleanse. There's a lot of things that you can require, and then you can also put in it your values, ethics, beliefs, and the things you want to pass down. Now, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna leave it up to you whether you want to put anything in it that's negative or areas for improvement. Okay? So an ethical will, is it anything about money? No, it's not about money at all. And which is really interesting, is I like to tell this story. Over 20 years ago, when I was in rabbinical school, I asked my mom to write me an ethical will when I learned about it. So I asked her to do it. I thought I kind of fun for her. And this was her response. Why do I need to do this? You know everything about me. You've lived with me. You know what? Why do I need to do this? I don't do this. And I was like, yeah, you're right, Mom. It's okay. So I told her a little white lie, which, by the way, if a white lie is, you know, it's a good thing in Judaism. It's a good white lie. It's actually, if it helps, a white lie, not a lie. So I said to her, you know, Mom, this is for credit. If you could do this for me, I'd really appreciate it. So of course she did it for me, and it was the beginning of a journey for her in writing ethical wills. Why? She was able to write down her values, beliefs, her hopes and dreams for her children. Okay. And not only did she write one, she wrote multiple ethical wills. And I have all of the different, you know, times, because as an ethical will, something that is, you know, stuck, same always. Yes or no? No, of course it's not. How many of you have revised your monetary will? Raise your hand if you revise your monetary will. Okay, that's pretty typical that you revise your monetary will. Maybe something changes in your life. Maybe you know you make a different decision. That's typical. It happens in the same way. An ethical will can be rewritten and rewritten multiple times, and it can change as we change. That's why I said learning today is like learning about our own Torah. Okay, so two major things that I think go in an ethical will is, you know, your wishes or desires for when your life ends, and again your ethics, values, beliefs, and pleasure. Okay, any questions so far?
Yeah, so what happens, like you say, if it gets rewritten?
Yeah.
And your children then have 5 different versions to think about. Maybe the first one is very different than the last one. Could they say, I want to follow this one maybe and not follow the other one? Or are they obligated to follow the latest one? What if they know their parents have gone through some changes themselves?
Such a good question here.
You know,
What happens if they write one, but then there's a different one later? I mean, I think to me, the answer is, you know, that, right, we are all human, we change and we grow. And it's kind of nice to notice maybe the differences of what they saw. Maybe they said, you know, let's say they wrote one when their children were really young, but then they saw them grow into an adult, and maybe the hopes and dreams are different. And maybe they saw them become maybe very successful. Or maybe they saw them struggling and maybe they wanted to give them advice on how to do better or be better, right? So I think it's all like, right, it's all Torah, right? We don't discard the Torah of the past, right? It's all their Torah. So I think wonderful, read it all, learn, you know, use it all, right?
two questions, so Lynn. Rabbi, I wrote a will so long ago that my parents were still alive, because I had major health issues many years ago. And I learned from one of the prophets of ethical wills and had written mine so long ago. Yes, I've changed mine. Very definitely have changed. Beautiful. And what's your name again? No, I don't.
Do you think with an ethical will compared to just something you would pass down like writings or, is it more the focus on, your desires, values and ethics, for them to be passed along, or is it just generalized, I think I have ethics myself, but, what they are for somebody else might be different in general.
Right, I think they're what you want to, continue to always, you have to think of it like this, so right when my mom passed away it's like 3-ish years ago. And when I read her ethical will, I feel like I am still learning from her, and even though I do all those things, just like she said, it is still her voice resonating with me. And it's a good check-in for myself to say, am I doing all these things? Am I living up to what she wanted? What could I do more of? How could I live differently? How could I live better? Right? So I think it's almost to like hear their voice. For those of us who have lost loved ones, right? When we see loved ones handwriting, what does that do for you? It's comfort, right? Like it brings us right back to when if I see my mom's handwriting on her recipe, I'm right there with her, right? So when I see her writing, it's like I'm right, it's like she's right there talking to me. That makes sense. And by the way, ethical wills can also be, recorded, they don't have to be in writing, that's really nice, they can be typed, they don't have to have, there's no like format that has to be. But I was encouraged that I think it's nice when it's written down. Tell me your name.
I'm Donna.
Hi, Donna.
When I walked in, I heard you say that Jacob was negative. Could you give me an example or two of what you mean?
So Jacob, when he was dying, he was negative with some of his children. He had around his bed, and there's some of his children that he was very positive with, but others he was not very kind to. He rebuked them. He wasn't he basically in certain ways said you're gonna be, it doesn't translate so well today, but you're gonna be eaten by a lion. Or horrible things are gonna happen to me. In some ways, it wasn't kind of prophetic and him kind of giving a vision of the future.
Right.
But the way we see it today is could he have maybe could he have said certain things a little nicer?
When you say we, you mean you. Jacob, we never was a righteous man, he was a Sodom. So anything that people have said would not have been negative, it would have been righteous and to the point. That's how I feel.
Thank you.
So didn't he rebuke his sons that didn't do some great things during their lives? Wasn't that part of why he rebuked them? Yes. They weren't the greatest people necessarily.
Again, he was kind of scolding them at people, and in the end, you have to ask yourself, is that something you want to do or leave when you pass on? Will scolding a child be helpful or hurtful? You know your relationships better than I do, and if you're going to scold, how are you going to do it? That's why I said I would really think of it as an area of improvement. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Here is just a little bit more on the same text, right? Then he instructed them, saying to them, I'm about to be gathered to my kin. Whenever someone gathered to their kin in the Torah, it's their dom, right? Bury me with my ancestors in the cave, which is in the field of Ephron, the Hittite, cave, which is the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre, in the land of Canaan, the field that Abraham bought from Ephron, the Hittite, for a Beereth site. There, Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. There, Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried. And there I buried Leah, the field and the cave in it, bought from the Hittites. When Jacob finished his instructions to his sons, he drew his feet into the bed, and breathing his last, he was gathered to his kin. Okay, what else? Do we learn anything from that text?
Abraham, his father, had purchased the place where he wanted to go. The literal kind of literal thing.
So is this
Physical place.
physical, or is this one about the ethics, values, beliefs?
Physical.
Yeah, this one's more about the physical, again, what he wants, yeah.
I wanted to go, I wanted to, I suppose. That in addition to the really physical, but he's also saying, I want to still stay close to my family, even with that.
I like that, I think that's beautiful. Anybody else, any other comments on this one? Okay, good, so somebody again tell me what an ethical will is, so now that we know, we can move forward. What's an ethical will?
It's a belief with regard to how you've spent your life, maybe some things you had wished you had done differently, and you record that, and you share that with your loved ones. And it's not necessarily only family with whom we've made those sharings. And it's, in a sense, a roadmap for your loved ones. Everybody's accustomed, used to be accustomed to reading a map. Today, our lives are different, and it's really defining who you think you are at the time in your life when you are recording or writing your ethical will. And it may change 3 years from now.
Right, and it's sharing your beliefs, values, and ethics. There's nothing in it about your monetary items, your money, your jewelry, your material things. There's nothing in it about material things. There was something I was gonna say, I know that I forgot what it was, but it'll come back to me. Okay, Stan.
What's that ethical will? An ethical will shouldn't necessarily be given at the end of your days. The ethical will can start at basically any time in your life as a road percentage. As a map of your behavior around people around you.
100%. And I again, I want to say, like, it is about a little bit about you, and I love what Liz said too. It's also about, like, maybe the things that you could have done wrong or better. There is an area for forgiveness, or what we call tshuva, which we do in the High Holy Days, but it's really all year round and all life round. It's the opportunity to ask for forgiveness for the times that maybe we did not do so well. And there's always the opportunity to ask for forgiveness. There was another thing, Nusha, you had your hand up.
I want to that you said hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
I think that a parent is hoping and dreaming that the children have learned some positive things from their parents, and they will continue to work on that and improve them and perhaps increase them.
Exactly, right, it's a continuation of that. I wanna show you, maybe in here, where did it go? So, this is my mom's ethical will. And I bring it because it's really only 2 pages, she typed it, which was really nice of her. That's it, 2 pages, right? And she gave every single one of my siblings one of these, and sometimes people ask me, like, should it be the same? Now, I think it's always good to write the same one if you're doing it for your children, because you don't want to cause jealousy or make one of them feel, less or more, because it's very possible. But I do think that I had a class where someone said that her daughter severely has special needs, and she would not even be able to understand something like this, where she had another child who did not have those needs, so special needs. And I encouraged her actually to maybe write something different, or a drawing, or whatever it would be that would communicate her ethics again to her child, or somehow share. I wanted to say that. The other thing I want to say is, when my mom started writing hers, and I told you I have a couple different copies of hers, one from like 25 years ago, and this one, and a couple others. But one of the things that she also did was, because she started writing so much about her story, because both Lynn and Stanley now touched on the story, right? We end up talking about the story of our lives. and, you know, the highs, the lows, the hard parts, the good parts, you might end up wanting to write your memoirs. And that's okay. Write your memoirs, take a memoirs class, right? And that is a different document. Now, how might writing a memoir be different than writing an ethical will?
Are you going to talk about the literal things that happen to you, not necessarily what your hopes and dreams and desires are? It's a different, it's like a story of.
It's story, right? It's about the stories, the little things that happened to you, how you met your spouse, or how you know, what it was like to have children. It's not hopes, dreams, values, ethics, right? It's not telling specifically what you hope that you did. And I would say it should be briefer. It should be like a little document that you want to put in with your will. You should have it right next. It should be together. In fact, at one of the classes that I taught or presented, one of the synagogues, where is that? Oh, it's over here. One of the synagogues I presented at decided to give their congregants a nice gift, which was really, don't worry about the title. I don't know the title, but I'll tell you what it is. So here's the title. I'm dead. Now what? Okay. And what it is actually a book like that literally says important information about my belongings, business affairs, and wishes. Okay. Now you can get this off Amazon, go for it, check it out, right? But it's like, you know, it's for passwords, addresses, the who to talk to, the DNR, so it's like it's everything, right? It's all, you put it all in one book. Which by the way, we should all do. Because it definitely makes it easier on our loved ones. If you've experienced a loss, it's not fun to have to go through and try to find everything, right? But where do you put this? With it, in it, next to it, right? Along with where are the monetary wills, who's the lawyer, who's the right, everything's together, right? But this is still different, not this, and it's not a monetary will. Okay. Questions? Yeah, Liz.
I guess I learned over time, it's not necessarily to be a timeline of our lives, but there will be points of our lives that have such meaning that it put us in a slightly different direction. And we've held on to some aspect of that as we've matured, and it's important to us. Oh, yes, there are parts of our younger life or our middle life that are very important, that we want to remind our loved ones how important it was for us and what it meant to us to be able to share it with those who lived on.
Yes, and I think like briefly, if we have something that impacted us so great that it changed the course, as Lynn called it, the roadmap of our lives, if it changed the course that we did things differently or chose things or needed forgiveness, sure, put it in. But if you find yourself writing a book, again, go to the memoirs class, okay? No, and I will say is that my mom and I you know, may her memory be for blessings and her knowledge for hop. You know, she did gift us because she was writing so much. She gifted us with a whole book of her life. I think I shared that here once in a sermon of her pictures that were labeled, Hebrew names, you know, family trees. It had everything in it, which is the best gift you can give to your child. Because you know what? When your great grandchild when your grandchild is wanting to know what to name their great grandchild, and you're not here to ask about your Hebrew name, it's all in a book, right? So these are nice things to do. Legacy. All this whole class is about legacy. How do we keep ourselves alive? How do we keep our memories alive? Okay, let's keep going. Thank you, Joyce. Okay, so I love this text. This comes from the Talmud. It says in Shabbat 153a, we learned there in the Mishnah that Rabbi Eliezer said to repent one day before your death. Rabbi Eliezer's students asked him, "But does a person know the day on which he will die?" He said to them, "All the more so. This is a good piece of advice. And one should repent today, lest he die tomorrow. And by following this advice, one will spend his entire life in a state of repentance." Why am I bringing you this text? This doesn't say anything about ethical wills. What's this one about?
Mistakes you make in your life?
Yes, mistakes, yes. That's clever.
Advice on how to live. But if I could have lived an ethical life, living or a Torah driven life.
Nice. Anybody else? There's a part here that's I think really, yeah, tell us your name again.
Cindy,
Thank you, Cindy.
it's about living in the way with having repentance in your heart for any mistakes as they happen, when they happen each day, rather than holding on to them and having to make a big apology later on.
Yeah, and it's also, there's one part of here that's really special. Once you repent today, let's keep down tomorrow, right? This is a huge text we use, rabbis use all the time during high holidays. Why? Because we don't know when the end of our lives will be. So this is saying, repent one day before you die. Who knows when we're gonna die? So you should repent. And also, it's also teaching us that we should be living, right? And this repenting one day before we die is that we should make sure that we share with our loved ones, ask for forgiveness, talk with them, and put it in your ethical will, right? Repent one day before you die, make sure to ask for that forgiveness, but also, I think it tells us to live to the fullest too.
Could you actually, let's say you had a family member that you were not getting along with very well for something maybe you did or something they did. Could you put that in your ethical will and apologize to them? Were you never able to do that in life?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Okay, next. Okay. This is another Talmudic text. We use this text often during the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which is our Earth holiday. You probably have heard the story, maybe you haven't. One day he was walking along the road when he saw a certain man planting a carrot tree. And he said to him, "This tree, after how many years will it bear fruit?" The man said to him, "It will not produce fruit until 70 years have passed." And he said to him, "Is it obvious to you that you will live 70 years? That you expect to benefit from this tree?" He said to him, "That man himself found a world full of carrot trees, just as my ancestors planted for me. I too am planting for my descendants." What's this about?
The continuation of that legacy.
Yeah, this one again is about continuity, legacy, lador bador, right? We pass it down from one generation to the next. That is the heart of our tradition, is passing it down. And even if we're not here to witness it, we still plant those seeds for our children or for families or whoever it might be. We are constantly planting seeds for the next generations. Okay, excellent. So I love this. This is from Rabbi Nachman of Breslau, or Hasidic, 18th century or so. He says, writes this prayer, "Dear God, teach me to embody those ideals I would want my children to learn from me. Let me communicate with my children wisely in ways that will draw their hearts to kindness, of decency, and to true wisdom. Dear God, let me pass on to my children only the good. Let them find in me the values and the behavior I hope to see in them." Why am I sharing this with you? Because I think it is the perfect blessing to begin an ethical will. We're asking, and I want to be careful, like not just always saying children, because I want to also share that I know that not all of us have children, and that an ethical will can be for anybody. It could be for, sisters, brothers, loved ones. But again, this is really just praying that we can communicate wisely, we can share what's important to us, that in all ways, right, we can draw our loved ones' hearts to kindness and decency and true wisdom, and that we can pass on to our loved ones the good, or maybe some areas of improvement, right? And that they find values in us and that we pass down our words, okay?
As an example, long ago, when I was talking to my own mother about ethical wills, decades ago, she said, "Well, can I start it with, I'm still angry at Uncle Morris." No, let's not start it in that way.
And we have to remember that when we write these, we are leaving a piece of ourselves. We want to leave this earth angry? I will leave that question to you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there is a book that that is written. Rabbi book. This is written by Rabbi Jack Reamer, who has been in Florida forever. Very well known rabbi. He's like he's like 96 now. He wrote this. It's called "So That Your Values Live On," and it's basically it is a book of ethical wills. And ethical wills have been around since when?
Jacob.
Thank you. So there are ethical wills when the state of Israel was created. There are the ethical wills from the pogroms. There are ethical wills from the Holocaust. They are throughout our history. You just don't always think of them as ethical will, right? So I pulled one of my favorites that I use for the because I we captured everything. But don't worry, when you come next week, we're going to look at more of these, and I'll tell you what we're doing next week in a few minutes. So this is Samuel Lipsitz's ethical will. Every little ethical will in the book has a little bit of a bio, if you will, about the person. So this one says the following will of a New England businessman, handwritten on sheets of business stationery, is remarkable for its clarity and insight. It is the more noteworthy because its author points the finger I don't even want to leave, but okay, whatever, I didn't go in. Or reprove at himself for possible annoyances under the pressures of daily work alongside members of his family. Okay, so what we're going to do is and it might be a little bit hard to read, but don't worry, I will read it to you, okay? What we're going to do is we are going to look at this text as if it is Torah. What do you do when you look at a piece of Torah? What do you look at it? What do you do? Look at the translation.
Look at the hit.
All right, well, we got the translation done. Check what else?
Look at the deeper meaning.
Look at the deeper meaning. So we're going to look at the deeper meanings of this one ethical will, and you're going to tell me by looking at it, what did he put into his ethical will? So I'm not just going to read it to you. We're going to go paragraph by paragraph, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to ask you lots of questions about his ethical will, and then you're going to decide, like, would that work for me? Do I want that in mind? Do I want it to be a little bit different? Okay, you ready? Okay, here we go. And by the way, I have copies of all of this stuff if anybody wants it. I think we have some of these if we have a few.
And there are 3 copies at least of Rabbi Reamer's original text in our library.
There you go. You can check it out.
I
Okay.
just wanted to ask, can you make it a little bigger? I don't know.
I think the joy of you could use this
Right, just time to bigger. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hold on one second. Nope, other way.
She said she knows these small, she's gonna read
Oh.
it.
I think if we.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
Then if you don't want to just stay after this. Now that we have.
Oh, you
If you like- Oh, yeah, it's real. And then it's going a little bit. And if you just spread it back, you can stuff on it. Although I'm just.
We might be
I
able to.
spread it right off with the spring.
Rabbi, we might be able to make a slide deck afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, so. We're just gonna bring that up, so I can. But I will leave it here. Okay. She's gonna bring it back up in a second, but apparently it's small, but I have it here. Okay, ready? Dear children. Somewhere among these papers is a will made by our lawyer. Its purpose is to dispose of any material things which I may possess at the time of my departure from this world to the unknown adventure beyond. I hope its term will cause no ill will among you. It seemed sensible when I made it. After all, it refers only to material things which we enjoy only temporarily. I'm more concerned with having you inherit something that is vastly more important. There must be a purpose in the creation of man, because I believe that as I hope you will someday, for without life becomes meaningless, I hope you will live right. Okay, what's he saying so far? What's Sam saying?
I think he's explaining how important other things are, like his ethics or his values and his feelings, than material things. Material things come and go, whatever, but what he wants to pass down.
Right, I have a will for you, my children, but it's not the most important thing, and I want you to, I hope that you don't fight over my material things. And now I have something that's even more important, and that is my ethics, my ethical will. And he says in it, which I love, he goes, I hope you will live right. So the first thing this dad is asking for his children is to do what?
Live right.
Live right, right? Live right. I mean, that's pretty easy, 2 words, right? Live right. Okay, you weren't able to get it. Say, no, it's not here. We're getting really big, and it's also, I don't know, let's say we.
Easy yet hard.
Yes, Eric, is there a way we might be able to, I don't know why it's holding the last slide. It's holding, yeah, it's weird. Anyway, Eric is here. So that's not what's reflecting. I just expanded it. I think it froze.
Oh, yeah.
Go back.
No, so I think you have 2 screens. No screen.
It might be up twice, maybe. All right, I'm gonna keep reading and they're gonna do their magic. Okay. Live together. I'm reading one paragraph, so don't worry. Okay, there it is, right there. Okay, so we're here. So we can just expand it a little bit. You can make it bigger. You could, it's a touch screen, so you can fix, there you go. Now maybe we can go this way. Perfect. And if we can go up a little bit. Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. Here we go. Even more. You can go a little, you can go a little more. There you go. Okay, perfect. Okay. So it says, live together in harmony. Thank you so much. Carry no ill will toward each other. Rethink of the family. Help each other in case of need. Honor and care for your mother. Make her old age happy as far as in your power. She deserves these things from you. It was your mother who always reproached me that I was not concerned enough about my children. She always insisted that we give them more. She would never visit a grandchild without a gift. I often felt she was too devoted a mother. Proved she was wise by being worthy of her devotion. Okay, there's a lot in this paragraph. What do we get from this one that you could put in your ethical law?
Well, how to live and be a good person when they're gone.
Live and be a good person. Yeah, right. So I think that's part of the living right, living good, right? What else is he saying?
Be there for each other when they are no longer there to be.
Be there for each other. Yep.
How about your mother? There's a lot of talk about the mother.
Right?
All about the mom.
She deserves it. And then going back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, right? He starts telling, he's going into story a little bit. Like he's talking about how, his wife always brought the gifts and she reproached me when I did this. And, he's storytelling a little bit, but he's really saying, like, take care of your mom. Please take care of your mom, right? Beautiful.
There's an apology in there without question.
A little bit, yeah. You can hear there's regret a little bit, right? But hold on. I think this is regret. Wait until we get a little bit farther, okay? I love this part. And we didn't really talk about this part, but I think you'll appreciate it. Carry your Jewish heritage with dignity. Though you may discard trivial ritual things, never discard your basic Jewish faith. You cannot live out your years happily without it. Page. Or it's on the next slide, please. Coming. Oh, she got fast hands. Okay. Coming to the synagogue. So we're now in like what do you call it? Want to go to slideshow from the beginning on the left. Far left, yeah. Oh, all right. We'll
Hit
keep
the
going.
space bar.
We're at the beginning now. Oh, here we go. Coming to the synagogue for Kaddish will reacquaint me with old prayers, and you may find comfort in them, as I did when your grandfather died in 1923. I was then 32 years old. What's this paragraph about?
Remember me.
Remember me. Yep.
carrying on the Jewish faith by remembering your father or mother who passed away.
Yeah.
Saying Kaddish.
Yeah, say Kaddish, carry on tradition. I mean, I really got the sense that he like loved to be Jewish and it was important to him. And don't forget who you are. Don't forget what your roots are, right? Be beautiful. And by the way, I think if you love being Jewish, put it in. If you love something else, like, writing or something that's you're really passionate, that you hope that maybe learning, education, whatever, something that you hope that they'll take that on and pass it on to the next generation. Okay? Next paragraph. Being together daily in business has its disadvantage as far as a father wanting to be noble in the eyes of his children. The aggravations and the heavy pressure in our business cause friction and annoyance with one another. Maybe we said things at such times that in calm retrospect we are sorry for. I was as guilty of these things as anyone. I hope such things will not stand out in your memory of me. I must have done something worthwhile, things that left good impressions and nice thoughts with you. Please recall these or anything you feel worthy carrying on. On vacation in my yurtside, I leave with happy thoughts because, as your mother and I often said, God has been good to us. Our children are all good and married to good mates. Their lives can go on without us just as well. They will meet none who can speak ill of their parents. What's this one say?
He's talking about they must have worked together. They must have run a business together and things didn't always work harmoniously between themselves, and he's apologizing for that, not wanting to dwell on the bad things that may have happened.
Yeah, what's interesting is he doesn't come out and say, I'm sorry, but he's saying, I'm sorry. He's saying like, he's saying I did the best that I could. And like, Derek said, it's not easy to work with people we love sometimes, right? And I did the best that I could. And again, he's going back to, but I love this part at the end. Even though he's sorry, feels bad, he gets to this place of like, he's appreciative for the life he had. And he feels like he can end, he's ending in his life is ending with a certain level of peace, which I think is also beautiful.
Some of those words are especially hitting me in the head and heart today because so many of our children and grandchildren are swaying away from what might have been our traditional family Judaism. And I don't know when this was written, I didn't ask, but that is something that many of us may be challenged with today.
Yeah, I believe this is from the 1950s, October 16th, 1950. Yeah, and it's so, what a beautiful thing to say when like it's a different time, it's a different generation, and some of the things that we hoped and wished for are not happening. And it's heartbreaking for us. And then again, I asked the question of like, what do we want to leave behind? And is that if we share our heartbreak, what will it do? Will it be good or not good? Right? And again, these are things like when I read my mom's, it makes me want to go see plays and take an art class and do things so I can improve who I am. But if she said, maybe you didn't do so well here, I don't even know if I'd read it, right? Because I don't know if that would be good for me. But I'm just sharing, like this is something that you can leave behind. It's your voice, and whatever voice you want echoed in your children's or family member, loved one's mind, you have to think about that. Okay. Let's see, right, we're here. I've enjoyed a loving and appreciative wife. She always praised and told me how capable I was. Then I had to live up to her expectations. Any worthwhile thing I ever did was due to her urging and her faith in me. So don't mourn for me. I've enjoyed my life, carrying on from here, using the many blessings which you have, and I didn't have at your age. With wisdom and consecration to your family and mankind, you can serve your family best by serving mankind also. Remember me affectionately as your father. Shul, then Shalom. I don't have any sign it for it. What you think?
Remember.
Remember, okay? Remember, beautiful.
Don't cry when you think of it.
Yeah.
Very few,
Yes.
it's called deal.
No. So you think this makes somebody feel guilty?
I would think my children would feel guilty
Okay.
for not doing the things they now know I expected of them, or not picked up to continue,
Yeah,
or improve, or start the things that I was hoping that they will do during my life.
interesting. I don't see that as much, but I think that's interesting that you do, and like Torah, right? We are all readers and interpreters of the Torah text. This is our text, and we are interpreting it, so I think perfect if that's what you think. I see it a little differently. I see it as like he has a lot of guilt. Maybe not for his children, but he has a lot of guilt and is saying he's sorry in the best, like he did the best that he could. That's what I hear over and over again, but everyone's open to interpretation.
Well, if they help,
Like, yeah.
I think he would be pleased if he knew that there's a bridge magnet saying, call your mother. Because honor your mother is there all over, it doesn't say honor your mother.
Yeah, it really is. He really took that one in, very much so.
oh, my, I wanted to say,
Yeah.
so I know that. Him preparing to leave behind for the children, he's letting them know to acknowledge their mother, to acknowledge the other people and the beautiful things that they have while they're living. So that they can really make them special while they're still alive.
Yeah.
And to, not just about him, it's about them all, that's connected.
It's about the family, it's not just about a really beautiful comment too. Any other thoughts? No, Stanley, were you gonna say something?
The thought is, when the survivors will actually get to read the ethical will.
When the survivors get to read that whole, so,
And the question is, do you write an ethical will? And it's a continuing process and you let your children or siblings read it as it's going on,
yes.
as you're writing it.
So, yes, again, yes, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, because if you write one, right, as we talked about earlier, you can write multiple. And if you let your children read it, which my mom did, so I saw multiple copies of it, okay. There's no problem with it, and some people may want to take their ethical will, and it's something that they get only after you pass away. And that's okay too, like there's no right or wrong when you do this. And I will also say, I shared this, I did another teaching just last weekend at another school. And I shared with them that, as this next week, we're gonna write together. So just a little commercial, we're gonna write together, I'm gonna bring little notebooks, we're gonna take time, we're gonna use some more ethical wills, we're gonna study them, and then we're gonna be writing our own together. So I have been writing mine a little bit too, and it's an interesting experience, right? As Stanley said, there's different chapters, you can write at different times. And at one point I was writing, I wish I took that dance class, that I never took a dance class. And then I realized, oh, I'm still here, just like all of you, right? So I went out, and the next thing I did is I registered for a dance class, and I took a 6-week dance class, and it was great. And you know what? These are also for us. They're not just for the people we're leaving behind. They're for us. It's an evaluation in some way of our own. Like, what has been important to you? What do you care about? What do you stand for? What has been your purpose in this world? What have you created? What do you feel good about? What changes have you made? How have you influenced people? Whatever it might be, right? And then all of a sudden you're reading it and you're like, oh, wow, look at this. Or, oh gosh, I need to do better there. Like, you're still here. And let me just keep saying, you're still here. Which means that we have opportunities for apologies. We have opportunities for change. We have opportunities to do better. And that's a good thing, I was, as I shared, I was a congregational rabbi. I spent a tremendous time at the synagogue, tremendous, as most rabbis do. And didn't have the opportunity to spend with my kids. And when I write these things, I realize how much more time I want to spend with my children, right? So there's these are really good to write because they awaken something in us and say, okay, what do I need to do that's different? Or how am I appreciative of the blessings I've had or what has been good, right? So it's a good exercise no matter what. Okay, Joyce, do we have the other parts in here? We do. Well, I wanna just take a moment to, yes. Tell me again your name.
I'm Jane Brown, thanks, Jane. All of this is reminding me a bit, well, quite a bit of what I went through with my father and then my mother. My father died when I was 20. And I'm a yeshiva girl. I went to an Orthodox yeshiva. So when my father died and my mother didn't drive, I took my mother to my father's grave to say Kaddish, to do Yisr, to do everything on his birthday, before High Holy Days, before everything. And my mother lived a very long time, so it was quite different. And I'm thinking, what do I need to prepare for my daughter? I have certain things written down that are all factual. Well, this one, well, that one, here's this information, here's that information. But there's more that I have to do. And so it's giving me a lot to think about.
Okay. And in that, and I wanna just say thank you for saying that. For some of us, it's really hard to say I gotta do these things. But we wanna do these things, right? In Judaism, it's actually a mitzvah to prepare. Right? Judaism is all about preparing. We prepare for Shabbat, we prepare for holidays, we clean our house for Pesach, we're always preparing. And we should always be prepared, if God forbid something were to happen to us, then we're prepared for all of it. The physical parts and also the spiritual parts. And I would say this is a spiritual part of preparing for when we are not in this earth. And again, it could also be for another chapter. It could be preparing for when you become a grandparent. It could be preparing for when you become a parent. It could be preparing for ethical wills. Again, can be written at different chapters of your life. I want to just take a moment and just share for a moment that, as you all know, I work for Crossbridge, and for the last year and a half, I have been building a program called Tikva Jewish Care and Support Program. And Joyce works with me, as I shared with you, or I would say works with me. And what we do is at Trustbridge, where we work, Trustbridge has been serving Jewish people for the last 40 years since it was created. But there was a need that we've noticed in the last few years. They've noticed, the leadership of the company noticed that we have a huge percentage of Jewish people down here in South Florida, and that a fourth of our patients are Jewish, which is a huge amount of our patients. So what we have been doing is making sure that the needs of Jewish patients are met. What have we done? We have now 2, 3, 4 rabbis that work for us, which is way more than we had when I started. We provide holiday programming, Shabbat programming. We provide, Torah books. We provide different kinds of classes like these. We're out in the community sharing and teaching. And also, just if you don't know, I think it's always important to educate. Some people think that hospice is only, when you're imminent. It is not. And we try to tell ourselves that we pride ourselves on our mission, which we say is full life care. Even though it may be at the end of life, we want people to have full life in it. Meaning, right, like pikuach nefesh, Judaism is all about saving life. We want to make sure that we are making sure that people feel like they have the most life within the days that they have left in this world. So in order to be on hospice, we have to have a 6-month diagnosis or less. We have people, I just had the beautiful privilege of being with a woman on her journey for 2 years almost on our services. And we provide nurses, doctors, social workers, rabbi chaplains. We have bereavement services for 13 months after a loved one passes. And by the way, your loved one does not have to pass on trust bridge services to get our bereavement services. So if you needed to go and talk to someone, we have groups, we have one-on-one, and we do a lot of things. We have music therapy and pet therapy. And, we're really proud, Joyce and I are really proud of the work that we are creating at Trust Bridge, and really building this Jewish hospice program. So if you know someone who needs our services, please let us know. And, if you happen to, this happens to us all the time, is where someone will call and say, my loved one is there, or we have a friend who's there, can you please make sure that person gets visited? And then we do, and we're here to help and support in any way that we can. And,
Also,
yeah.
we're looking for volunteers.
Oh, yes, thank you.
We have a group called Kick for Volunteers. And we meet once a month on a Wednesday afternoon from 2 to 4. We make Shabbat boxes. We made bags for Hanukkah. We made bags for Rosh Hashanah. And they all went out to the patients and their families, and it was really appreciated. So if anyone's interested in volunteering, just let me know.
Yeah.
Join me because I will do.
Well,
I will be joining, so you can join me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, as Joyce shared, our TICFA program that meets monthly is really to pack all the ritual items that our Jewish patients need. So we packed, 800 bags for Hanukkah, 800 bags of apples and honey, and that's what we have a group of volunteers, and the group of volunteers probably all different people who come and pack with us monthly. Where we do it at Spring, which is on Palmetto and 95 in the classrooms, right?
But if there is enough interest, we are talking about.
Yes, doing it right here, right here in Boynton, which is on Congress and it's on Congress and Delray. So we're looking to try to do some packing right here to make it easier, but it's so nice because we're also making connections. We're not making connections. People who come are making connections with each other. And the last time we had like 15 people come, and one person was a preschool teacher who taught someone else's son, who knew the other person. It was so great to see the Jewish geography, and everybody left feeling good. And right, like we're all about doing mitzvahs, and it feels really good. Yes.
Does Trust Bridge do a kind of like palliative care before hospice?
Yes, it does. And here we just worked with a company called MPAC, which is on the west coast of Florida. So now Trust Bridge is even bigger. So we're now MPAC Trust Bridge. And so they are known more for their palliative, but our hope is that we will be even more known for it. But we're really more hospice right now. But the hope is that we will be more palliative as we do our merger. I wanted to say, if you're not going to be here next week, we do have little journals and pens for you to do the ethical wills. To if you're going to join it with Zoom, I'm also going to leave a little bit for anyone who comes during the weekend. If you're on the Zoom, make sure to come and pick up a journal and a pen at some point during the week. We have them for you, and then next week again we'll study some of these ethical wills, just like we did as Torah. And then we're going to talk about what goes in ours. I'm going to have 2 packets. I have a lot of paper to bring you next week. 2 packets of teachings of different booklets that teach you how to write an ethical will. So when you leave here, you're going to leave with lots of different papers on how to write an ethical will, and you will have started. And I will say this, and I say this to every group. The reason why I do 2 of these, because I could do 1 and you could be on your own. The reason why I do 2 is one of the hardest parts about writing an ethical will is you got it. And sometimes just being around other people and doing it together is really great. And then we'll talk about like how did it feel? What do you think? What do you think of this section? So that's what we're going to do next week. And when I did it just a few weeks ago with another tool, they were so appreciative of the writing session, just because the hardest part is getting started. And then the second hardest part is, what's the second hardest part? Continuing it and finishing. So we'll start together next week, and I'll look forward to being back here. And thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you.
And if you did enjoy it, please let us know. We let our company, the leadership of our company know all the time, the good that's being spread in the community, so they know more, so please let us.
Can I ask everyone to just sign in with the name and email address?
We already signed in. Oh,
You did?
oh, they signed, I didn't sign that, it's something, I don't know what.
I would just run and get those pens and booklets if you think you might booklets here.
Oh, no, I didn't.
You want to vote, I didn't put it there, you know, I just.
Yes. You don't make it copy, and when there's sound like that, you might have one.
Make sure that they will turn on.
Is anyone not gonna be here next week?
Joining, if anyone's joining by Zoom next week and now. Okay, so we'll make sure, I'm gonna get you a pen and then I'll bring a couple in and leave them with you, Lynn, okay?
Recommend.
We'll